What's up, people? Today I thought we'd talk about beginner paintball setups. I was searching through some forums recently and heard people talking, there aren't really any good guns in kind of the price range under $250, $300, and I think that's a bad stance to take when it comes to beginner players. This is going to be geared to the brand new player to paintball. Maybe you've played a few times, rented your gear, and you're really interested in getting involved in the sport, but you don't have experience with owning a marker, you don't have experience maintaining it. So we're really going to focus on something cheap, something reliable to get you started, but something that won't cost you too much money, so when you are ready to get more involved in paintball, you can upgrade. The first thing I'll say is it is a completely viable option to just rent a gun for a while. If renting a gun is going to allow you to save up money for something better, I think you should do it. The stuff I'm going to recommend today is about the caliber of what you're going to rent. It is nice to own things. Obviously, you get to take care of your own marker and learn about how they work. If your field does not maintain their rental markers very well, you should definitely probably invest in a setup of your own. I've been to fields where the rental guns work maybe half the time, and that is just not enjoyable for you to play paintball. So that is a situation where you definitely should invest your money in something that's going to shoot paint down the field and help you get people out. What you should also think about is the cost that your field charges to rent. So if your field is very expensive to rent a gun setup, definitely think about getting your own. But I know at some of my fields, especially at larger events, like sometimes you pay your fee for the event, your entry, your air, and a rental will be free, or some fields only charge maybe $10 for a rental setup. It is definitely a good option to just rent as long as they're well maintained until you can afford something better. The price range we're going to look at is kind of this $100 point. Guns get considerably better when you start talking about $250, $300 for a marker. They are softer on paint, so you can shoot more brittle paint that is likely to break on your opponents more often. They have less kick, they're quieter. Just all around, you're going to get a better package if you're willing to spend more money. So like I said, we're focusing around that $100 price point. I think for the first time player who has no experience maintaining guns, that you should look at a mechanical marker. This is a Tippmann Griffin. This is right around 100 bucks. Sometimes you can find them a little cheaper. If you're really savvy, you can find a good deal on the used market for like 40 or 50 bucks for this gun. Another option from Tippmann is the Tippmann Chronos, also 100 bucks right now. And another would be the Zodin Chaos 2. The Chaos 2 is a very nice gun, and it's 100 bucks. So I think that is kind of the good price point to hit. When you start jumping up to $150 and $200, I don't think you necessarily get that great of a performance advantage. Electronic guns in that kind of price range, to me, aren't that great. And once you get up to $250, you can buy a Proto Rise. When you hit $300, you can buy a Empire Mini GS. Those guns are kind of what I consider like the best entry-level speedball type guns. Until then, I'll recommend mechanical stuff. So don't be fooled by the blade style trigger on this. You cannot walk it. It is a semi-auto gun. It's got a nice stiff trigger pull. You don't get an on-off ASA. You have a clamping feed neck that, well, a feed neck that requires you to use an Allen key to clamp down on your hopper. But what's nice about these guns is they're super simple to maintain. All I do for my Tippmann, this has kind of become my lend out marker. All I do, you'll see a hole down there in the ASA. Hopefully we can see it. A couple drops of your paintball oil in there. Dry fire the marker a few times. That lubes up the internals. And that's all I do for maintenance. If this gun had problems to where I had to tech it, it's so cheap to find these. I would probably just buy another used one and lend it out to people that way. I like having a gun to lend out in case somebody has a problem on the field, or if I bring new players with me. So yeah, about 100 bucks is what I'm going to recommend, and go with something mechanical, something reliable. Tippmanns, there are techs all over the place for these guns. There's a reason they're probably the most widely sold gun in the history of paintball, because they're very reliable. Not much else to it. One thing you can really get into with Tippmanns is people like to upgrade everything. I think that's a sinkhole for your money, because like I said, when you start spending kind of $250, $300 on a gun, you will get a much better gun. No doubt about it. So sinking your money into one of these Tippmanns, like people spend a lot of money on their A5s or their Phenoms, I don't think is worth it. I think you should take that money and spend it on something else. One thing I did do with this gun, the stock barrel that comes on it is a huge overbore. It's a very short barrel. It's not very good. I went out and bought a CP 14-inch barrel, just a one piece. These are like $30. This is a 685 bore, so it can kind of be used with just about any paint. It's a nice little upgrade to have a good barrel for it. Like I said, 30 bucks. That's all I would do to this gun, is get it a nicer barrel. When you talk about barrels for low-end guns, you do have to take into account the threads. So the Tippmann is A5 threaded. Most high-end guns, aside from a few, are going to be autococker threaded. So it's not really worth your money to go sink a couple $100, $150 into a really nice barrel kit that only fits your Tippmann gun. Because once you upgrade your gun in the future, you can't use those barrels with it. You have to get new ones. So think about that. But a nice high quality barrel, like CP makes cheap barrels, but they are very high quality and shoot very well. So think about maybe a barrel upgrade. Next up, we'll talk about hoppers. And this is just kind of a standard 200 round gravity hopper. These are like probably between $5 and $10. I don't know, I haven't bought one in so long. That's all you need for your mechanical gun. It can't shoot enough for an electronic hopper, or it can't shoot fast enough for an electronic hopper, so there's no need for one. What I do like in the gravity hopper world is the Proto Primo. The Proto Primo is, I think, $15 right now, so not that much more money, but it has some unique designs to it. It has kind of a shelf on the inside of the hopper, and that helps it feed more consistently. So just in general with mechanical guns, when you use a standard hopper like this, it can kind of jam up on you and you have to shake the gun to get paintballs to feed. With this Proto Primo, just in general, you have to shake it less. The recoil from the gun kind of helps it feed. It's just more consistent feed, so you know, that's 15 bucks. I think over maybe this fairly cheap hopper, the Proto Primo is a solid upgrade. Last part of our setup talk is going to be about tanks. Now, this is just kind of a cheap high pressure air tank. This is an Empire tank. Is a 48 cubic inch, 3,000 psi tank. 48 cubic inch being the size, the internal dimensions that can hold air, 3,000 psi being how high you can pressurize the bottle. I personally would skip over CO2, and CO2 is kind of the cheap option, but I found that fields are kind of moving away from filling CO2. I have a field now that won't fill CO2 tanks. They'll just make you rent a high pressure air tank. High pressure air is more consistent. When you upgrade your gun to those electronic guns, CO2 is not recommended because it causes extra wear on the internals. It can cause a lot of problems. So you will need this if you choose to upgrade in the future. So this is an aluminum tank. These are about $40 or $50. They are a solid option for a new player. I'm going to weigh this thing real quick so I can get my scale working. I don't know if you can see it. So it's sitting right at 2 pounds, 15 ounces for the aluminum bottle. So carbon fiber tanks. Carbon fiber tanks are considerably more expensive. Like I said, this is a $40 to $50 bottle. A carbon fiber tank is going to run you about 150 bucks. This is a 45 cubic inch tank. It holds 4,500 psi. So like I said, this bottle holds 33,000 psi. Sorry. This bottle holds 4,500 psi. They're roughly the same size on the inside where it holds air. So this one can hold 1.5 times as much air as this. So that does make a difference. And I said this tank was 2 pounds 15 ounces. I'll throw this carbon fiber tank on the scale. It's right around 2 pounds 6 ounces. I am kind of holding the bottle. Oh yeah, 2 pounds 6.1 ounces. And this tank actually has 1,500 psi in it. This aluminum tank is completely empty. So there you go. This is a considerably lighter tank. 45 cubic inch is not what I would recommend, but this is just kind of giving you a weight comparison for the same size. The general size that works well for most people starting out is a 68 cubic inch tank. Now, this is a Ninja SL tank. Like I said, the standard carbon fiber bottle is about 150 bucks. These start jumping up to $200. This tank, I'm going to move my scale out of the way. This tank is 68 cubic inches. So compared to the 45 cubic inch tank, it holds 1.5 times as much air. They can be pressurized to the same 4,500 psi. But this tank in super light edition weighs just about the same. So considerably larger, weighs the same. If you get a standard carbon fiber tank in the 68 cubic inch variant, it will still be a little bit lighter than the aluminum one. So if you can see here, these are all about the same length of tank. All that's gone on is this 68 tank is quite a bit larger in diameter. So you don't really notice a whole lot of a difference going from this 48 to the 68 in size, but how much you can shoot. If I can shoot maybe 9 or 10 pods off my gun with the 68 cubic inch tank at 4,500 psi, I will probably only be able to shoot about 6 to 6.5 pods with this smaller carbon fiber tank. Even less than that, because this aluminum tank is only pressurized to 3,000 psi, I would probably only get 4 to 4.5 pods. So there is a significant difference in how much air a 4,500 psi tank versus a 3,000 psi tank can hold, and then obviously the size difference, the cubic inch measurements on the inside of the tank, how much air can be held. In general, there's nothing wrong with this aluminum tank. It's quite heavy. The carbon fiber tanks are very nice to have. They're kind of a luxury. If you upgrade your gun, you're probably going to want to upgrade your tank. So it may be a wise investment for you as a beginner player to save up your money and get a carbon fiber tank. You know, my field will rent me an aluminum tank for like $5. And just like when I said about renting guns and saving your money, this is another situation. You can buy your own gun, buy your own hopper, and then maybe you rent the air tank for a while until you can afford a carbon fiber tank. So my recommendations, if you're trying to keep it nice and cheap, a $100 gun, kind of move some things around here. A $100-ish gun. Sometimes you can find something like this for like 80 or so for a new one. $100-ish mechanical gun. Cheap electronic guns, I would avoid them altogether. Hopper, I like the Proto Primo. Nice solid hopper, good consistent feed rate. No need for an electronic hopper when you are when you're shooting a mechanical gun. And either aluminum high pressure air tank, 48 cubic inches, 3,000 psi, or upgrade yourself to a nice carbon fiber tank. Most likely the average height person is going to like a 68 cubic inch 4500 psi tank. As far as tanks go, I like Ninja tanks. Ninja tanks are made in the USA. This is actually not a Ninja tank, but it does have a Ninja regulator on it. This guy is a Ninja tank, Ninja SL tank. Also, obviously, Ninja regulator. What I like for new players about Ninja tanks is that the reg is adjustable. Now, with something like the Tipman, I want to shoot that gun with a fairly high pressure. So 800 psi or something is what a Ninja tank will come stock. But all I have to do to drop the pressure in this gun is remove some shims that are installed in the regulator. With other brands of tanks, you have to buy typically a pressure kit. So it'll have like a spring. You have to buy that separate to be able to reduce or increase the pressure. With this, you have everything when you buy it to reduce the pressure of the tank. Higher end guns don't necessarily need to be run at lower pressure. Some really like to be run at low pressures. Like Bob Long recommends you run all of his guns at low pressure. In general, a lot of guns can handle the higher pressure, but that lower pressure allows you to shoot deeper into the tank, and it's just, you know, it's easier to like engage your ASA. It's not putting so much pressure through the inline regulator of the gun. Just in general, it's a nice thing to have to be able to adjust these. So I do recommend Ninja tanks. Even if you're going with this aluminum bottle, Ninja tanks are a little bit more expensive, but you get that nice adjustable regulator, and they're really high quality. There you go. That's all I have for you on beginner setups. If you have any questions about any of the gear mentioned here, feel free to ask away. If you have any beginner related questions about paintball, throw them in the comments. I will answer them. I'll also throw some links down below of products that I've mentioned here. Try and kind of give you an idea of some guns you could look at, some hopper options, and some tank options. Yeah, so check that out. Subscribe to the channel. I'm going to do some more beginner related stuff in the future. Yeah, there you go. Subscribe, like the video, comment, or dislike the video, I guess, if you don't like it so much. You have that right. But look out for new stuff. See you later.